Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another English podcast. Today, we're going to talk about a topic that creates many debates around the world. The question is simple but very powerful. Is university really necessary? For many years, people believed that the traditional path to success was very clear. Finish school, go to university, get a degree, find a good job, and build a stable life. But today, many people are starting to question that idea. Some successful entrepreneurs never finished university. Others studied for many years, but later realized their degree did not help them very much in the real world. So, today we are going to explore this topic from different perspectives. Our guest today has a very interesting story. He went to university and studied two different careers. He spent many years studying, reading books, writing exams, and trying to build a professional path. But later, he decided to start his own business. Today, he is a successful entrepreneur. So the big question is, was university necessary for him? Let's begin. Thank you very much for joining us today. Thank you for inviting me. I'm happy to talk about this topic because it is something I have thought about many times. My experience with university was long and complicated. When I was younger, I believed strongly that going to university was the only way to have a successful life. My parents believed this, my teachers believed this, and most of my friends believed this too. So after finishing high school, I entered university and began studying my first career. What did you study first? My first degree was in business administration. I believed it would teach me everything I needed to know about building companies and managing money. At the beginning, it was very excited. University felt like a new world. There were many students, many classes, and many ideas. But after some time, I started to notice something interesting. Many classes were very theoretical. We studied many concepts about business, economics, and management, but often we did not practice real world situations. For example, we talked about how companies should work, but we did not build real companies. We studied how markets behave, but we did not analyze real businesses deeply. This made me curious. I started asking myself, is this knowledge enough to succeed in the real world? That is a very interesting question because many students feel the same way. They study many theories, but sometimes they wonder how those theories connect to real life. Exactly. After finishing my first degree, I was still unsure about my future. I thought maybe I needed more education, so I decided to study a second career. This time I studied marketing and communication. I believe that understanding marketing could help me create better business opportunities. Again, I learned many interesting things. I studied consumer behavior. advertising strategies, branding, and digital communication. But something inside me was still questioning the system. I started noticing that many successful entrepreneurs I admired did not necessarily follow the traditional academic path. Some of them learned by doing things. They built projects, experimented, failed, and tried again. That made me wonder something very important. Is university the only way to learn? That is a powerful question. Many people assume university is the only path to knowledge. Yes, and that belief is very strong in many cultures. Society often tells young people that if they do not go to university, their future will be limited. But reality is often more complex. University can offer many benefits, but it also has limitations. And this is where the debate becomes interesting. Okay, let's explore that. In your opinion, what are some advantages of university? Well, there are definitely advantages. One major advantage is structured learning. At university, information is organized in a clear path. Professors guide you through topics step by step. For many people, this structure helps them stay focused. Another advantage is access to knowledge. Universities often have libraries, research materials, and experienced professors who can explain complex ideas. Also, university can be a great place to meet people. Many students build friendships, professional connections, and future partnerships during their studies. In some professions, university is absolutely necessary. For example, if you want to become a doctor, a lawyer, an engineer, or a scientist, university education is essential. These careers require deep technical knowledge and certification. So, in those cases, university is not just useful, it is required. That makes sense. But your story suggests that university was not the final step in your journey. That's correct. After finishing my second degree, I entered the job market. I expected that my education could give me many opportunities, but reality was different. Many companies wanted experience more than degrees. They asked questions like: have you managed real projects? Have you built something successful before? Can you solve practical problems? And I realized something important. University had given me information, but it had not given me much real world experience. That realization was the moment when my perspective started to change. I see. So, what happened next? At that time, I decided to try something different. Instead of looking for a traditional job immediately, I started experimenting with small business ideas. At first, these ideas were very simple. I tried selling products online. I worked with small digital marketing projects. I helped local businesses improve their online presence. Some projects failed, some projects worked a little, others worked surprisingly well. But something very important happened during this process. I began learning through experience. Instead of only reading about business strategies, I was applying them. Instead of just studying marketing theories, I was testing marketing campaigns. And the lessons I learned from real experiences were incredibly powerful. Wow, that must have been a very different type of education. Yes, it was like a second university. But this time the teacher was real life. When you start a business, every decision matters. If you make a mistake, you see the consequences immediately. But if you make a good decision, you also see results. Over time, those experiences helped me build confidence and practical knowledge. And eventually, one of my projects grew into a real company. That company became the foundation of my career as an entrepreneur. That's a fascinating journey. You studied two careers, but your biggest lesson came from practical experience. Exactly. And that is why I believe this question, is university really necessary, does not have a simple answer. For some people, university is extremely valuable. For others, alternative paths may be more effective. The important thing is understanding what you want to build in your life and choosing the learning path that supports that vision. That is a great point. In the next part of our conversation, I would like to explore the disadvantages of university, some mistakes students make when choosing careers, and what young people should consider before deciding whether to go to university. Because this decision can shape many years of a person's life. Yes, and it is a decision that deserves careful thought. Education is important, but the way we learn is changing rapidly. So I think this conversation will become even more relevant in the future. You're right. We talked about your experience studying two different careers at university and how later you discovered that real world experience played a very important role in your success. You also mentioned that university has advantages such as structured learning, access to knowledge, and professional connections. Now, I would like to explore the other side of the debate. From your personal experience, what are some disadvantages of university that many people do not talk about? Hmm, that is a very important question. And I want to answer it carefully because I do not believe university is bad. Education is extremely valuable. Learning is one of the most powerful things a person can do. But the problem is not education itself. The problem is when people believe that university is the only path to success. One disadvantage of university is the cost. In many countries, university education is very expensive. Some students graduate with large debts that take many years to repay. When someone starts their professional life already in debt, it can create a lot of stress and limit their freedom to take risks or explore opportunities. For example, if someone wants to start a business but has large student loans, they may feel forced to accept a stable job immediately, even if that job is not what they truly want. Another disadvantage is time. Many university programs take 4, 5, or even more years to complete. During those years, students are studying, preparing for exams, and writing assignments. But sometimes they are not developing real world experience at the same time. By the time they graduate, some students realize that the job market is very competitive, and employers often value practical skills and experience more than academic titles. That sounds like a difficult situation for many graduates. Yes, and this leads to another challenge: career uncertainty. Many students choose their university career when they are very young, sometimes at 17 or 18 years old. At that age, it is very difficult to know exactly what kind of life or career you want in the future. Some students choose a career because their parents recommend it. Others choose based on social pressure or the promise of financial stability. But after several years of studying, some students realize that they are not truly passionate about that field. Changing direction after investing so much time and money can feel very difficult. This is something I saw many times during my university years. Some classmates finished their degrees, but later decided to work in completely different industries. Wow, that is interesting. It seems like the decision about university is not only about education, but also about self discovery. Exactly. When you are young, you are still discovering your interests, strengths, and values. For some people, university is the perfect environment to explore these ideas. But for others, learning through real world experiences, internships, projects, or entrepreneurship may help them discover their path faster. Another disadvantage of university, in some cases, is that it can create a false sense of security. Some students believe that if they simply finish their degree, success will automatically follow. But the real world is more complicated than that. Employers often look for problem solving skills, communication abilities, creativity, adaptability, and initiative. These qualities are not always developed through traditional academic systems. Sometimes they are developed through challenges, teamwork, practical experiences, and personal projects. That is a very interesting perspective. It sounds like education is important, but the way we learn may need to evolve. Yes, and that is exactly what we are seeing in today's world. Technology has changed the way people learn. Today, someone can access thousands of courses online. They can learn programming, marketing, design, finance, and many other skills from experts around the world. There are also communities, workshops, mentorship programs, and practical training opportunities that did not exist in the past. This means that education is becoming more flexible. But that does not mean university is obsolete. It simply means that there are now more options. Some people thrive in structured academic environments. Others learn better through experimentation, self directed learning, and hands on experiences. So, if a young person is listening to this podcast and wondering whether they should go to university, what questions should they ask themselves? That is a great question. I think the first question should be, what kind of career do I want? If the career requires professional certification, like medicine, engineering, law, or scientific research, then university is essential. But if someone is interested in fields like entrepreneurship, digital marketing, technology startups, creative industries, or freelance work, there may be different paths to success. The second question should be, how do I learn best? Some people learn very well in structured environments with teachers, lectures, and exams. Others learn better by building projects, solving problems, and experimenting with real situations. Understanding your learning style can help you choose the right path. The third question is very important. What skills will be valuable in the future? Regardless of whether someone goes to university or not, they should focus on developing skills that will remain valuable in a changing world. Skills like critical thinking, communication, adaptability, creativity, and problem solving are extremely important. Technology will continue changing industries, but these human skills will always be valuable. That is very practical advice. Now, I would like to ask a more personal question. Looking back at your life, do you regret going to university? No, I do not regret it. Even though my career eventually moved in a different direction, university gave me important experiences. I met interesting people. I learned how to think critically. I developed discipline and the ability to analyze information. But if I could go back in time, I would probably combine university education with more real world experience earlier. I would start projects sooner. I would experiment more. I would not wait until after graduation to test ideas because the real world is one of the best teachers you can have. That is a very honest answer. And I think it shows that real debate is not simply university or no university, but rather how people approach learning and growth. Exactly. Education should not be seen as a single stage of life that ends after graduation. Learning should be a lifelong process, whether someone studies at university, learns online, builds projects, or starts a business. The most important thing is to remain curious and committed to improvement. Let me share one final thought. Many young people today feel pressure to choose the perfect path. They worry about making the wrong decision. But the truth is that life is not a single straight road. Life is a journey with many turns, experiments, and discoveries. University can be a powerful step for some people. For others, different paths may lead to success. What matters most is not the level of education, but the effort you put into learning, growing, and creating value in the world. If you stay curious, disciplined, and open to learning, opportunities will appear in many forms. That is a beautiful and powerful way to end this conversation. Today we explored an important question. Is university really necessary? And what we discovered is that the answer is not simple. University can provide knowledge, structure, and connections. But success also depends on curiosity, experience, adaptability, and lifelong learning. To everyone listening, whether you choose university, entrepreneurship, or another path, remember that your future is shaped by your willingness to learn and grow. Thank you for listening to this English podcast. Keep learning, keep questioning, and we will see you in the next episode. Thank you, everyone. And remember, the most important education is the one that helps you become a best version of yourself. See you next time.